pretty simple. I win.
Hello, guys, and welcome to Indiana Sports Connection. I am your residential anchor, Aaron. Thank you so much for being here and being part of this channel. We have the game tonight. Finally, the college football playoff starts. Alabama plays Oklahoma, and this is where Indiana finds out its fate, who they're going to play in the Rose Bowl. So, as Hoosier fans, we are going to be glued to the TV tonight to see how these two teams fare out, and we're going to talk about how these two teams, Oklahoma and Alabama, played in the first game, which was played at Alabama, and the game tonight will be played at Oklahoma, as these first-round games are on college campuses. So we're going to get into talking about all of that. Thank you guys for joining me. Todd, great to see you. Yes, I'm not sick anymore. My beard is gone. I've finally come out of hibernation. Yes, and more and more videos are on the way. I have been, I don't know what's been going on, but it has been a whirlwind. My microphone, let me make sure is all working right, because we never know. But if you do me a quick favor, hit the subscribe button down below, hit that thumbs up button, and check if you're joined to Indiana Sports Connection, because we're going to be doing a lot more videos coming up here about the basketball team as time goes on. And I have a lot of stuff to say about what's going on with them heading into the Big Ten season. But today we're going to talk about Oklahoma. I never cannot say it that way, because there's like a Bill Cosby joke where he says it that way in a joke that he told. And Alabama, which is the nemesis. But who are you feeling in this game? I mean, before I ever watched these matchups, Alabama has that mystique to it, but they don't really have that mystique anymore. I mean, Alabama is not the team they can't run the ball at all. In the game they played against Oklahoma, they ran the ball for 80 yards, but Alabama just is not the team that's going to put the offensive line out there and run all over you and have their way. Ty Simpson, it's going to be about him not turning the ball over in this game tonight. And so you would think it's going to be even harder on the road. Can Alabama fix those problems? Can they not turn the ball over? Can they play a clean game against Oklahoma? Because if you look at the first game, Alabama just creamed them. There's such a weird kind of thing in this game, because on one hand, you have, if you're an Alabama fan, you're looking at this like, we killed them in yards. We just turned the ball over, and they fumbled. They did a bunch of stuff, threw some turnovers, and put Oklahoma right in position to score easily and beat them at Alabama, which is really difficult to do. 23-21 in that game. And then you look at the other hand, where Alabama can really say, we outgained you, we outdid you on all this stuff. And then, Oklahoma, they have really a stout defense, 6th ranked defense. And I'm going to tell you right now, I would much rather, I think, play Alabama. I would much rather play Alabama, because I think it just sets up better for the Hoosiers, for the way that our defense plays and the way that Alabama turns the ball over. I think Alabama would be an easier opponent. And I don't even like to say that out loud, because it's still Alabama. I like Kalen DeBoer. I know he's starting to kind of, sew his way into the Alabama Crimson Tide, lexicon there, and maybe being a little bit more accepted as the coach there after kind of having a rough go of it to start out in some of these games. But Alabama, they are going to want to, if they're going to want to throw the ball a lot, and that puts them in a position against Oklahoma, which is the same position they're in before. And then you add in that they're playing on the road. It's like if Alabama throws the ball 35, 40 times, and Ty Simpson's under some pressure from Oklahoma, will he make those same mistakes? That's the word of the day is turnovers, because if Alabama plays a clean game, they could beat them 40-20 seemingly. But they are Alabama is a 1 point a 1.5 favorite in this game. The over under is at 40.5, but It has to be elite passing for Alabama, and, yeah, I think if Indiana plays Alabama, they could get a pass rush on them and make them uncomfortable and get some tip balls, sacks, and some things like that. Now, Oklahoma, not that I would not that I don't think Indiana can beat Oklahoma. I just think it would be a much lower scoring game and a lot closer. Because let's like John Mateer, he runs a lot. I mean, he had a couple of games where he was their highest rusher at 70 yards. He's been banged up a little bit, but make note, this dude sucks. He is like probably the worst quarterback out of all of these guys. Like he's probably worse than the JMU quarterback or Temple quarterback. So John Mateer is not good. He's not good, but he just can't make mistakes. He needs to play a game. He could play a game, and if you look through his stats, like where he throws for 116 yards, runs for 50, and Oklahoma's defense practically wins the game for him. So, I mean, Oklahoma had some key wins early on. I watched the game when they played Michigan early on, and I was kind of surprised of that because they really took it to Michigan in a way in that game, and I thought Michigan would be better, but now we kind of know why Michigan was not better when your coach is on OnlyFans and all these different things. But you're just not going to be good. There's another issue with Oklahoma. I mean, they are 0-4 since 2014 in the college football playoff. They're kind of that team, and I hate to compare them to like Indiana basketball but they're one of those teams that they don't want to turn into a team that's like irrelevant. They don't want to turn into possibly like Nebraska. Oklahoma's they're one of the forgotten really kind of like blue blood programs. But Oklahoma, I mean, they've had great teams. I mean, Barry Switzer, their coach, I believe way back, wasn't he their coach? I mean, and yeah, there we go. Yes. And I didn't even look. Yeah, Barry Switzer coached them and carried. Yeah, but that's something with them. I mean, they're looking to like kind of make a push and be up there with these top echelon teams, and they've had that kind of a pedigree over time, just not been able to win the big game. So like push really comes to shove in this game. Uh, and I was looking at the odds to win the college football playoff right now are, Ohio State is 1 plus 190 and Indiana's plus 320. And then Georgia is right behind them, I think at 600. But it's this game. I don't know why I feel like Alabama is going to play a clean game in this and beat Oklahoma. I feel like Oklahoma has a great defense. Um, And there one other factor in this, Alabama played in the SEC championship game, did not look great in that game. So that has me worried about Alabama, like whether or not they can, come out and play in a game like this. One thing I think Kalen DeBoer has, with the experience he had at Washington and going to the final game and that type of thing. I just think his experience. I like that dude. I like what he did at Indiana. And I really think Alabama's going to win this game tonight. I think it's going to be surprising. And in an Indiana Alabama matchup would be my dream. I feel like Oklahoma comes in if they come in to play Indiana at the Rose Bowl. I feel like they would be a harder out for Indiana. It would be a closer game. And Oklahoma's just better at a lot of different things more so than what Alabama is, where maybe they're better at running the ball, running the ball with their quarterback, and just they have more of a system where their defense and their style of play are more complementary of each other to roll over some teams. So it's kind of flash in the pan. Alabama, they're going to have to get out and run, and they're going to have to take care of the ball. You can't really teach that. They're going to have to take their chances and opportunities down the field and kind of loosen Oklahoma up in this game and play with a chip on their shoulder. And but that's where I'm at on it. But Let's see some of the comments over here. LL Cool Ray, how you doing today? I don't know what would be more satisfying: Alabama getting bounced immediately as frauds who should have been in the tournament, or IU being the ones that sent them home. I'm thinking the exact same thing because I hate Alabama more than any team. But part of it, my hatred of them is lifted a little bit just because they're not the powerhouse that they once were. It's so hard to get rid of that from your mind because for year after year, I mean, they were like the Belichick and the Patriots of college football. Just every year, I mean, they had the guys on the front line, they had the guys behind them, and that's fallen apart from football. So this game, it's definitely out there. Michigan is a shit show, dirtier than Jim Carrey's house. That is absolutely true. Oklahoma has a nasty pass rush. Ain't no pussyfooting around that. And that is super true. And that is why I wanted to want to play Alabama in the thing. I just think their defense isn't as good. Mendoza plays better under pressure. This John Mateer, when when he gets under pressure, though, he can just chuck it up out in the middle of the field. But also, so does Ty Simpson. So, well, Ty Simpson does it more than John Mateer. But well, I would say John Mateer is like a brain dead gunslinger type of a player. He's like if Brett Favre had less talent and no talent at all and just chuck the ball out into the middle of the field. You get that out of both of these guys, which kind of kind of makes it a really really tough game to pick because of that. Um but the reason why I'm picking Alabama, and this is the reason why. In the SEC championship game, yes, they got throttled by Georgia. Yes, but that experience, I think Alabama playing against having that last game and having it played more recently, and a lot of people go by, well, the injuries and all that stuff. I don't because Alabama is more of an offensive team. I look at them as a team that has to stay in rhythm and is a team that if they get going on offense, they could really throttle a team like Oklahoma. Like when you look at the stats, and let's pull those up and look at these stats from the last game because it was, I mean, they doubled them up in total yards, 406 to 212, three turnovers for Alabama, doubled them up in first downs, 12 first downs for Oklahoma, 23 for Alabama. Um, the penalties, not a huge deal, but 5 of 13. Alabama was on third down. They were 3 of 13. Alabama was 2 of 3 on fourth down. And then Alabama really, 10 minutes more of possession in that game. So who do you trust? Who do you believe in this game? Because I think Alabama can go out there and put up those same type of numbers offensively. And they're going to be probably humming as far as that goes as because I think offenses get better as the season goes on and get more the timing gets better. I mean, you can see that with Indiana as their seasons went on that just different guy like how Charlie Becker's kind of emerged and that can happen on offense. Defensive teams, like when you get an injury here or an injury there, your team, I think, could be really the defense can be way ahead of the offense early in the season, which they played. It was like week 5 or week 6. They were Oklahoma was 3-2 in this, and when they were playing this game, so it was a real must-win game for Oklahoma. I mean, it was real. They would have been out right there, which I would have been surprised by. But for them to win on the road at Alabama, quite impressive because that is the one of the hardest places to play. It always will be. So, but that's why I'm picking Alabama in this game. And I'm with you, LL Cool Ray. I would love to see Alabama go home from the Rose Bowl with Indiana beating them. And that's why I'm picking Alabama in this game. It's a match made in heaven for Indiana to send them home from California just like we didn't even care. So and But what do you think about the injury to the Hoosiers? Mendoza winning the Heisman. Um, I think that's going to hurt Indiana. Not trying to jump the gun into talking about the Rose Bowl, but having all this time off, it is our defense, and we all know our defense is what has, won the Ohio State game, and our defense is top notch. Like, we're gonna need it because it might take a quarter for our offense to kind of get out of its own way in this Rose Bowl. I can definitely see that coming. Just because there's no way to simulate football. I've always thought that about. I like the system we have now because there's not as much time between Thanksgiving and them playing these rounds of games right now. But I mean, the way they had it set up like 3 or 4 years ago, where it's like you'd play and then the national championship game would just be either the 4-game playoff. It would be you'd have about 6 weeks in between your last game, and you'd always see the teams that were better on offense really struggle in those games. So in that, it's yeah, I think if they play Alabama, Alabama's offense will be a little bit more into rhythm and a little bit more used to playing, but Indiana's defense will have to take care of business in that game. Alabama represents the SEC in most people's minds, and it would be great to embarrass them live in 4K in front of the entire neck. Hey, yes, I agree, dude. I've hated Alabama for years, and I don't even care if Kalen DeBoer's there. Doesn't matter. You put on that red crimson tide. It's not the same. And and so as Hoosier fans, that would be so satisfying. And and Oklahoma, I think teams really feel that. And I mean, I think kids that play Indiana basketball feel that pressure of the past of Indiana basketball a little bit. And I think Oklahoma is one of those schools that's the same type of way where they're going to have to get a special quarterback or a special player for them to really like be in the conversation where they want to be, like up there with Ohio State and Alabama and Michigan and the top teams, Georgia, Indiana too. I don't want to leave them out, but that's where Oklahoma wants to get to, and they have struggled. And it is a climb to get there for a team like that. And but they're 0-4 in these big games. So Alabama was the Death Star as Ohio State. Yes, but it is going to be a great It'll be a great game. I can't wait to see the playoffs start. And I'm going to make some videos later in the week. Indiana basketball 8-3. So we got a ton of stuff to talk about them. Like, where is this team going? How are they going to look in these next 2 games before they start the Big Ten season? They play Chicago State and Siena here right around the holidays. But I hope all of you are having a good holiday out there. And week till Christmas is going to be like 55, 60 degrees here. So um, here we go. Now we're getting some. Played golf with an Ohio State fan last weekend, and he didn't count all. Oh my gosh! There you go. You gotta follow. You gotta follow the rules, don't you? Beardless. That's right. Justin Beard, beardless. It had to come off. It was. I was just waking up every morning trying to comb this thing, and it was just like sticking out on the side. I was starting to look like a homeless man. So but yeah, it should be pretty exciting. I love the way they have this set up where it's like Friday, we got football all day tomorrow, college basketball, and that's why this is just the time where college basketball is kind of takes like a little bit of a breather, a little bit of a back seat, to some of the bowl games and stuff like that. There's still a lot of games on, and that, but just not as many like big time games. So kind of got like a brief little period here where college basketball just seems like it takes a backseat to all of this stuff. But thank you so much for joining me on this episode today. We will all be watching tonight. I can't wait to see. And the other thing to watch in this game, injuries on both sides, like, you know, what happens on both sides. Not that I'm like wishing for any injuries on any of their teams. I mean, obviously you don't wish for that, but that is a huge factor going into Rose Bowl. Like, what team wins this game and comes out of it healthy, because I do think there's a risk of that as well when you play these games in these playoff games. I do think football is a game where you practice every day and you practice hitting like 4 days a week and that type of thing, and when you even just get out of practice of it for a few weeks, it can kinda, like, take you a minute to really get back into the game and get ready to go. So, that you gotta keep an eye on all of the, keep an eye on all of the injuries in this game as we watch. So, but at Oklahoma on ABC tonight at 8 o'clock, check it out. And the Hoosiers, we will find out our fate, and it should be a glorious game to watch. Two real powerhouse teams to start this thing out. And then all weekend, I'll be making a video maybe later this afternoon about the basketball team and what we have coming up in these two games, and then like what this team really has to do to get out of Reed Bailey. Like Reed Bailey and Sam Alexis, they got to light a fire under those guys' asses, or something has to happen. DeVries has to get more out of those dudes, or he's got to get dudes off the bench like Josiah Mott. Somebody's got to be able to come in and rebound and play aggressive underneath the basket. I don't care who it is. You got to find a 6'6" guy to block somebody out and get physical with somebody. But that's my frustration with that right now. I am a little bit frustrated with it. But thank you so much for joining me on this episode of Indiana Sports Connection. Until next time, stay classy out there, Hoosier fans.